You have been told that life is a sequence of external events, that the world around you operates independently of your thoughts and feelings. But I say, nothing exists outside of you. The entire world is a projection of your inner state, a reflection of the energy you carry within. The conditions you experience, the people you encounter, and the opportunities that unfold are all responding to the energy you radiate. Change this energy, and the world must change in response. The great secret has always been hidden in plain sight. Reality is not fixed. It is fluid, ever-changing, and entirely dependent on your inner state. Yet so many remain trapped, believing they must fight, struggle, and push against the world to bring about change. But the truth is, change does not begin outside. It begins within. It begins with a shift in energy, a movement in consciousness, an inner transformation so profound that the world itself must bow to its power. You are not separate from what you seek. The wealth, the love, the success, the joy you desire are not external things to be pursued. They are states of being to be assumed. Every experience in your life is the result of the energy you have embodied, the assumptions you have persisted in, whether consciously or if you wish to see a different world, you must first become different within. The energy shift is not something you wait for, not something granted by chance or fate. It is a decision, a choice, a movement in awareness that happens in an instant. Look around you. Every object, every structure, every work of art, every innovation began first as an idea, a vision, a mental image held persistently until it took form. The same is true for your life. You are creating at every moment, but most create unconsciously, allowing fear, doubt, and limitation to dictate their reality. But I tell you, the power to create is yours. The world is not happening to you. It is responding to you. The energy you hold within is the blueprint from which life takes its form. If you find yourself surrounded by lack, it is because you have accepted lack as real. If you experience struggle, it is because struggle has become your inner dwelling place. And if you continue to hold to these states, the world will continue to reflect them, not because they are real in themselves, but because you have given them life through your assumption. But in the very moment you decide to shift, to embody a new state of being, the world begins to reshape itself to match your new assumption. How do you shift this energy? Not through force, not through effort, but through feeling. The moment you feel as though your desire is already yours, the energy within you changes. You no longer seek, you possess. You no longer desire, you are. And when this shift occurs, the external world has no choice but to comply. You do not need to concern yourself with the how. The world will arrange itself in ways beyond comprehension. To bring about the reflection of your new state, it may appear as coincidence, as opportunity, as unexpected events, but these are simply the echoes of your inner transformation. The only task before you is to hold fast to the new state, to refuse to return to the old, to persist in the feeling of fulfillment until it hardens into fact. There are those who believe that time is required for change, that results must come slowly, that transformation must be gradual. But I say, time is an illusion of the senses. The moment you shift your inner state, the process begins. Delay is only the result of wavering, of moving between the new and the old, of allowing doubt to creep in. But if you remain firm, if you occupy the new state with absolute certainty, the manifestation must come, for reality is bound by law to reflect your assumption. The shift in energy is the shift in identity. If you see yourself as someone struggling, you will continue to struggle. If you see yourself as someone who is always waiting, you will always be waiting. But if you see yourself as one who already possesses, already lives in the fulfillment of their desire, the world must confirm this truth. You are not trying to become. You are assuming that you already are. This is why the great teachers have always spoken in present terms. They did not say one day you will be. They said you are. The assumption of already being is the only truth. The world cannot argue with conviction, for conviction is the force that bends reality to its will. If you wish to change your life, begin by changing your self-concept, by assuming the role of the one who already has, who already is, who already lives in the fulfillment of their highest vision. Many will ask, but what if I do not see results? The question itself reveals the error, for it assumes that results come first. But the truth is, results are the reflection, never the cause. If you wait to see before you believe, you will wait forever. But if you believe first, if you shift your energy now, without hesitation, without doubt, the world must yield. Everything you desire is already within you. The shift is not external, but internal. The energy that creates worlds is within your consciousness. And the moment you claim it, the moment you embody it, the moment you live as though it is already yours, the universe will conspire to make it so. Do not seek to change the world. Change yourself, and the world will follow. Everything in your world is the direct result of what you assume to be true. Assumption is not mere wishful thinking, nor is it an idle fantasy. It is the creative force behind all that you experience. What you assume with conviction, what you accept as fact within, must externalize itself in the world around you. The key to all transformation lies in this simple truth. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and reality must conform to your assumption. You have been taught that the external world is fixed, that it exists independent of your thoughts, and that you must work tirelessly to change it. But this is the great illusion. The world is not separate from you. It is you projected outward. You do not need to manipulate conditions or force circumstances to change. Instead, you must change the state from which you operate. The only effort required is to shift your assumption, to dwell persistently in the state of the fulfilled desire, and the world will take care of the rest. Look at your life and ask yourself, what assumptions have I been living by? Your present reality is nothing more than a collection of past assumptions made visible. If you have assumed lack, struggle, or limitation, life has faithfully mirrored these states back to you. If you have assumed ease, abundance, and success, then these too have become your experience. There is no randomness in this process, no external force dictating your fate. It is law, an unbreakable principle that governs all of existence. You are always assuming, whether consciously or unconsciously, and these assumptions are always shaping your reality. The great mistake is to believe that seeing is believing, that only when results appear can you accept them as true. But this is the reversal of the law. You do not see and then believe. You believe and then see. The moment you assume a new state of being, the world begins to rearrange itself to reflect your new assumption. There may be no immediate outward evidence, but that does not mean the process is not unfolding. Just as a seed planted in the earth takes time to sprout, so too must your assumption be given time to externalize. But the seed must be planted in faith, not doubt. If you wish to transform your life, you must learn to assume the state of your wish fulfilled, even when the senses contradict it. This is where most falter. They allow the evidence of the senses to dictate what they believe possible. But the senses only show you the past, the remnants of old assumptions. They do not reveal the truth of what is unfolding beneath the surface. The unseen is always shaping the seen. When you hold firm to an assumption, when you refuse to be swayed by appearances, the world has no choice but to conform. Ask yourself, if my desire were already fulfilled, how would I feel? This is the question that unlocks the power of assumption. You do not need to worry about how it will happen, nor should you concern yourself with the means. The means are not your concern. Your means are not your concern. The law will find the simplest, most natural way to bring about your desire, and it will do so effortlessly. Your only responsibility is to persist in the state of the wish fulfilled, to dwell so completely in the feeling of its reality that doubt becomes impossible. Many believe they must act first, that they must take external steps before assuming success. But action follows assumption. The state you occupy dictates your actions, not the other way around. A person who assumes wealth will naturally behave in ways that align with that state. A person who assumes love will carry themselves with the confidence and ease of one who is already loved. These actions are not forced. They are the natural outflow of an assumed state. When you live in the end, when you assume that your desire is already yours, you shift from a state of longing to a state of having. The energy of wanting is different from the energy of possessing. If you say, I want this, you are affirming lack. But if you say, it is done, you are affirming fulfillment. The difference may seem subtle, but it is everything. Those who live in perpetual longing remain in a state of lack, constantly chasing after their desires, but never attaining them. But those who assume fulfillment experience the effortless unfolding of their desires as the world bends to reflect their inner certainty. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, when the senses attempt to convince you that nothing is changing. This is where persistence is required. A single assumption held momentarily and then abandoned is like a seed planted and then uprooted before it can take root. You must persist in your assumption until it becomes second nature, until it feels so real within that the outer world has no choice but to conform. This is not wishful thinking. It is the deliberate creation of reality. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are not bound by the conditions of your past. The only limitation is the one you impose upon yourself through false assumptions. If you believe in struggle, you will struggle. If you believe in ease, life will unfold effortlessly. The choice is always yours. But know this, there is no neutral ground. You are always assuming something, and that assumption is always taking form. Dare to assume boldly. Do not wait for signs, for evidence, or for confirmation from the world. Assume first, and the evidence will follow. Assume with confidence, with conviction, and with the unwavering faith that what you desire is already yours. When you master this principle, you will discover the true power that has always been within you. The mind is the great creator, the source from which all things emerge. Every experience, every event, and every circumstance you encounter is a direct reflection of the state of mind you occupy. Your dominant thoughts, your deeply held beliefs, and most importantly, your imagination, determine the reality you live in. If you wish to change anything in your external world, the change must first take place within, for the external is nothing more than the shadow cast by the internal. Most people believe that their thoughts are fleeting, without substance, without power. They assume that imagination is a mere tool for entertainment, a place for idle fantasies that have no bearing on reality. But this is the great misunderstanding. Imagination is not something separate from reality. It is reality in its formative stage. The images you hold in your mind, the visions you entertain, and the inner conversations you persist in are shaping the events of your life with absolute precision. What you accept as true in imagination becomes true in the world. It does not matter whether you consciously desire it or whether it is something you wish to avoid. If it is accepted in the mind, if it is felt as real, it must externalize itself. This is why so many find themselves trapped in cycles of struggle. They desire change, yet they continue to dwell in the same assumptions, the same mental images of limitation and lack. They long for abundance but imagine poverty. They seek love but imagine rejection. And so life reflects back to them not what they wish for, but what they assume to be true. To transform your reality, you must first master your imagination. You must understand that every thought you dwell upon, every feeling you allow to take root, is a seed planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. And just as a seed once planted must grow into the plant it contains within itself, so too must every assumption in your mind grow into the reality that corresponds to it. The mind does not discriminate. It does not decide which seeds to nurture and which to discard. It brings forth in kind whatever is impressed upon it. The key then is to become deliberate in what you impress upon the mind. Instead of allowing fears, doubts, and negative expectations to dictate your assumptions, you must take conscious control of your imagination. You must see yourself as already possessing that which you desire, not in some distant future, but now. The present moment is the only moment in which creation occurs. If you imagine something as happening in the future, it will forever remain in the future. But if you assume it as true now, if you feel it as real now, it must come into form. Imagination is not an escape from reality. It is the blueprint from which reality is constructed. Those who dismiss it as mere fantasy fail to realize that everything they now take for granted once existed only in imagination. Every great invention, every work of art, every achievement that has shaped the world began first as a vision in the mind of its creator. The individual who understands this truth no longer waits for circumstances to change before feeling different. They change how they feel within, knowing that the world must follow. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to place yourself in the state of its realization. It is to abandon all doubt, to let go of the need for proof, and to trust in the unseen reality that is even now forming itself around you. This is not a passive process, but an active reconditioning of the mind. It requires vigilance, persistence, and unwavering faith in the power that lies within you. It requires that you reject all appearances that contradict your assumption and hold steadfastly to the vision of what you desire. Most fail because they do not persist. They allow the evidence of the senses to dictate their belief, and when they do not see immediate results, they return to their former state. But reality is not created in a single moment of belief. It is the product of sustained assumption. Just as a plant does not sprout the moment the seed is placed in the soil, your assumptions need time to take root and grow. But the process has already begun. The moment you accept the new reality as true within yourself, you must practice seeing beyond what is visible. The outer world is only the reflection of past assumptions, and if you judge by appearances, you will continue to recreate the same conditions over and over again. But if you persist in your assumption, despite what the senses show, the world must shift to reflect your new state. There is no force in existence that can prevent this from happening, for the law is absolute. The power of imagination is the greatest power you possess. It is the creative force that shapes all things, the divine faculty through which reality is formed. To neglect it, to leave it uncontrolled, is to surrender your life to chance. But to master it, to consciously direct it toward the realization of your highest vision, is to claim the power that has always been yours. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, live in the certainty that it is already done, and watch as the world transforms before your eyes. The world you experience is not separate from you. It is not something happening to you. It is something happening through you. Every condition, every event, every circumstance is born from within, a direct reflection of the state you occupy in consciousness. There is no external force dictating your reality, no power outside of you that determines what you can or cannot experience. You alone are the cause, and the world is the effect. When you understand this, you no longer seek change in the external. You recognize that to transform your life, you must first transform yourself. The key to this transformation lies in the state of being you assume. Everything you desire already exists as a potential reality, but it remains beyond your reach until you occupy the state that corresponds with it. You cannot receive what you are not in harmony with. Just as a radio must be tuned to the correct frequency to pick up a station, you must align yourself with the reality you wish to experience. It is not enough to wish for something, to long for it, or to hope that it will come to pass. You must embody it. You must live as though it is already yours, for only then can it be drawn into your experience. Your state of being is determined by your inner conversations, by the thoughts you allow to dominate your mind, by the feelings you dwell in. These are not passive occurrences. They are active forces shaping your reality at every moment. If your inner conversations are filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, then no amount of external effort can bring you the fulfillment you seek. But if your inner dialogue is one of confidence, certainty, and the knowing that all you desire is already yours, then the world must align itself accordingly. Most people believe they are merely reacting to life, that their thoughts and feelings are responses to external events. The opposite is true. The external events are the response, the effect of the inner cause. If you continually find yourself in situations of lack, conflict, or struggle, it is not because the world is against you. It is because you have unknowingly assumed the state in which such experiences must manifest. You may say that you do not wish for these things, but the law does not respond to words, it responds to states. The question is not what you say you want, but what you feel to be true. If you desire abundance, but you feel lack, you remain in the state of lack. If you desire health, but you feel sickness, you remain in the state of sickness. To move into the state of your wish fulfilled, you must feel yourself to already be the person you desire to be. This is not about pretending, nor is it about trying to convince yourself of something you do not believe. It is about shifting your awareness, allowing yourself to dwell so deeply in the new state that it becomes more real to you than the current circumstances. You do this by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. How would you feel if your desire were already realized? What emotions would you experience? What thoughts would fill your mind? What inner conversations would you have? These are the keys to transformation. You must discipline your mind, training it to return again and again to the state of the fulfilled desire until it becomes your natural dwelling place. This is the only effort required. The external world will follow effortlessly, for it is only a shadow of the internal reality. This is not a process of struggle. You do not need to force yourself to believe or battle against opposing thoughts. You simply allow yourself to rest in the new state, to return to it as often as necessary until it becomes familiar. The moment you make this shift internally, the process of externalization begins. You may not see immediate changes, but that does not mean nothing is happening. Just as a planted seed must take root before it emerges from the soil, so too must your new state be given time to take form in the world. Doubt is the only thing that can disrupt this process. The moment you begin to question whether it is working, whether it is possible, whether you are doing it correctly, you pull yourself back into the old state. This is why faith is essential. Faith is not blind belief. It is the certainty that what you assume to be true must come to pass. It is the unwavering knowing that the unseen is just as real as the seen, and that your inner state is always taking shape in the outer world. The greatest mistake is to wait for evidence before assuming the new state. If you say, "I will believe it when I see it," you will never see it. For the world is only a mirror, reflecting what you already believe. The shift must happen first within, and then, without effort or struggle, the world will conform. Those who understand this principle live lives of effortless creation. They do not chase after desires. They become the embodiment of them. And as a result, those desires flow naturally into their experience. There is nothing you cannot be, do, or have, but you must first claim it within. No external condition, no past experience, no apparent obstacle can prevent you from assuming the state of your wish fulfilled. The only limitation is the one you impose upon yourself through doubt, fear, and hesitation. But the moment you let go of these and step boldly into the new state, you will find that the world has already prepared the way for you. The path will unfold naturally, opportunities will arise effortlessly, and what once seemed impossible will become inevitable. The mind is the master architect, shaping the world according to the impressions it receives. Everything you see, everything you experience is an extension of your own inner world. To believe that circumstances control you is to misunderstand the nature of creation. It is not the outer world that dictates your life, but the inner world that gives rise to it. The great secret of transformation is understanding that your assumptions, your deeply held beliefs, and your persistent inner conversations determine the conditions of your life. There is no separation between the state you occupy within and the reality that unfolds around you. To truly transform, you must first recognize that the creative power within you does not respond to effort, struggle, or force. It responds to assumption. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are conscious of being. The state you habitually dwell in is what becomes your reality. If you assume yourself to be poor, lacking, or unworthy, then no amount of external action can bring you wealth, abundance, or fulfillment. But if you assume yourself to already be in possession of what you desire, if you move through life with the feeling that your wish is already fulfilled, then nothing in existence can prevent it from becoming your experience. The process is not one of trying to make something happen. It is one of shifting your awareness, of embodying the feeling of the fulfilled desire. The moment you do this, the world begins to rearrange itself in accordance with your new state. It does not matter how impossible it may seem. It does not matter how contrary the present circumstances may appear. The world is fluid, ever-changing, a reflection of the assumptions you hold. What appears solid, what appears fixed, is only the crystallization of past thoughts and beliefs. The instant you assume a new state, reality begins to reform itself to match. The great mistake people make is believing that change must first be seen externally before it can be felt internally. They wait for evidence, for signs, for confirmation before they allow themselves to feel differently. But this is not how creation works. The feeling must come first, for the feeling is the cause and the outer world is the effect. If you wish to experience abundance, you must first feel abundant. If you wish to experience love, you must first feel loved. You must carry within you the inner conviction that what you desire is already yours. This is not wishful thinking, it is the law of consciousness. Every great individual who has transformed their life has done so not by waiting for the world to change, but by first assuming the state that matched their vision. The moment you shift your awareness and persist in the new assumption, the world conforms as it must. For the world has no choice but to reflect back to you the reality you occupy within. Many believe they must fight against circumstances, struggle against obstacles, and force their desires into existence. But creation is effortless. The only effort required is the discipline to persist in the assumption of the fulfilled desire. The world is not something separate from you. It is an extension of your consciousness. To change the world, you need only change the way you see yourself. The outer world does not create the inner world. The inner world creates the outer. Your senses will try to convince you otherwise. They will show you evidence that contradicts your desire. They will reflect back to you conditions that seem immovable, unchangeable. But the wise do not judge by appearances. The wise understand that what is seen is only the shadow of what has already been assumed within. If you accept the evidence of the senses as final, then you remain bound by them. But if you persist in your assumption, if you refuse to be moved by what appears before you and instead hold firm to the unseen reality within, the outer world must conform. It is not a matter of hoping or wishing, it is a matter of knowing. The moment you assume a new state, you begin to see the world differently. The same people, the same places, the same conditions take on a new meaning, for you are now seeing them from a different state of being. And as you persist, what was once invisible becomes visible. What was once impossible becomes inevitable. The change may seem gradual, but it is certain, for the law cannot fail. The only thing that can delay the manifestation of your desire is doubt. The moment you begin to question whether it is working, whether it is possible, you shift back into your previous state. This is why persistence is essential. You must remain faithful to the new state, even when the senses suggest otherwise. You must walk in the assumption of your fulfilled desire, knowing that it is already done. To live in the assumption of the wish fulfilled is to move through life with confidence, with certainty, with the deep inner knowing that all you seek is already yours. It is not a technique, not a trick, but a way of being. The one who masters this understanding is no longer at the mercy of circumstances. They shape reality as effortlessly as a sculptor molds clay, knowing that the outer world is only the reflection of their own consciousness. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, persist in it, and watch as the world transforms before your very eyes. Your world is nothing more than the reflection of your inner state. Every experience, every encounter, and every condition that arises in your life is drawn to you by the nature of your consciousness. There is no separation between what you hold in mind and what appears in your world. The secret to transformation is understanding that your assumptions, thoughts, and feelings are the blueprint from which reality is formed. You are not at the mercy of chance, nor are you a victim of external forces. You are the creator, and the life you live is the direct manifestation of what you persistently assume to be true. If you wish to see change, you must begin by shifting your consciousness. It is not enough to desire something, you must embody it. The outer world is merely the effect, a shadow cast by the light of your internal reality. To chase after change externally, to struggle against circumstances, is to fight against your own reflection. No real transformation can take place until the shift occurs within. The moment you assume a new state of being, the world begins to rearrange itself to reflect that change. The process is effortless because the outer world must always conform to the inner world. Many believe they must wait for things to change before they can feel differently. They think they must first acquire wealth to feel abundant, first find love to feel loved, first experience success to feel accomplished. But the law does not work this way. The feeling must precede the fact. If you do not first establish the state within, no external effort can bring about the change you seek. But the moment you fully assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, reality begins to shift in your favor. Your consciousness is the only reality. Nothing exists outside of it. The conditions you call facts are merely the crystallization of past assumptions. The life you experience today is nothing more than the harvest of seeds planted in consciousness days, months, or even years ago. If you wish to see a new harvest, you must plant new seeds. This means withdrawing your attention from the things you do not wish to perpetuate and placing it fully upon that which you desire to bring forth. You must assume that what you seek is already yours and dwell in the certainty that it is so. This is not a process of pretending or wishful thinking. It is a shift in identity. You must become the person who already possesses what you desire. When you think from the state of the fulfilled desire, everything in your world begins to move in accordance with that assumption. Opportunities arise where none existed before. People and circumstances align to bring about your vision, and what once seemed impossible becomes natural and effortless. Doubt is the only barrier to this transformation. The moment you question whether it is working, whether it is possible, you step out of the state of the wish fulfilled and return to the old state. The world reflects this shift instantly, confirming your doubts by presenting you with evidence of the former reality. But those who persist in their assumption, who refuse to be swayed by appearances, inevitably see their world conform to their new belief. Your senses will always seek to deceive you, to convince you that what you see is more real than what you imagine. But the wise understand that imagination is the only reality. The world you experience is nothing more than the projection of the images you hold in mind. If you wish to see a different world, you must create a different image. You must turn away from the evidence of the senses and remain faithful to the unseen reality within. There is no power outside of you determining your fate. The only power that exists is the power of assumption. Every great individual who has transformed their life has done so, not by struggling against circumstances, but by first assuming the state of their fulfilled desire. The moment you assume a new state, you begin to see the world differently. The same people, the same places, the same conditions take on a new meaning, for you are now seeing them from a different state of being. This shift is instant, but its external manifestation may appear gradual. Just as a seed planted in the soil takes time to grow, so too must your new state take root in consciousness before it emerges in form. But the process is certain, for the law cannot fail. The only thing required of you is persistence. You must remain faithful to the new state, returning to it again and again until it becomes your natural dwelling place. Once it does, the world will reflect it effortlessly. The key to all transformation lies in this understanding. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. The world is always responding to the state you occupy within. If you remain in the state of lack, struggle, or limitation, then no amount of effort will bring you the fulfillment you seek. But the moment you step into the state of abundance, ease, and certainty, the world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. This is not about forcing change, but allowing it. The moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you no longer need to struggle or chase after what you desire. You rest in the knowing that it is already done, and the world moves to confirm it. The wise do not concern themselves with how things will unfold. They simply trust that they will. They know that assumption, when persisted in, always hardens into fact. To live in this way is to experience true freedom. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances, no longer bound by the limitations of the past. You understand that the power to shape your reality lies entirely within you. Every moment is an opportunity to assume a new state, to step into a new reality, to create the life you desire with effortless certainty. All that is required is the willingness to believe in the unseen, to persist in the assumption of your fulfilled desire, and to trust in the inevitable unfolding of your vision. The world you see is nothing but a mirror reflecting your deepest assumptions, your most persistent beliefs, and the states you consistently occupy. Everything that appears before you, every person you encounter, every opportunity or obstacle that arises, is drawn to you in accordance with the consciousness you hold. There is no randomness in creation, no external force shaping your destiny apart from the thoughts you habitually entertain. The great secret to transforming your life lies in understanding that what you assume to be true within must externalize itself in your world, for consciousness is the one and only reality. To seek change in the outer world without first changing your inner state is to misunderstand the fundamental law of creation. The external world is not something separate from you. It is an extension of your mind. Every condition in your life is the direct result of your dominant state of being. If you continue to dwell in a consciousness of limitation, lack, or fear, then no amount of effort will bring you the freedom, abundance, or security you seek. But the moment you assume a new state, embodying the feeling of the fulfilled desire, the entire structure of your world begins to shift in response. This shift is not something you force or struggle to make happen. It is something you allow. The moment you accept within yourself the feeling of being the person you wish to be, the world begins to confirm this assumption. People, circumstances, and events align effortlessly to reflect the new state you have claimed. What was once unseen becomes visible, and what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. This is not a process of waiting for evidence, but of knowing that the evidence must appear as a result of your inner transformation. Many fail to grasp this principle because they remain bound by their senses. They look at their present conditions and believe that they are real, forgetting that these conditions are merely the reflections of past thoughts and beliefs. The wise do not judge by appearances, for they know that appearances are nothing but the outpicturing of consciousness. If you accept the outer world as fixed, if you allow your current reality to dictate your state of being, then you remain trapped in a cycle of repetition. But the moment you withdraw your attention from what is and place it fully upon what you desire to be, the change begins. There is no power in struggle, no force in effort. Creation is effortless because it is governed by assumption. When you assume a state, you do not have to work to bring it into being. The assumption itself carries within it the power of its own fulfillment. If you assume yourself to be successful, loved, abundant, or free, then this assumption, held persistently, must externalize itself in your world. The outer world has no choice but to mirror the inner reality you occupy. The greatest barrier to transformation is doubt. The moment you allow doubt to enter, the moment you question whether your assumption is working, you step out of the new state and return to the old. This is why persistence is essential. You must remain faithful to your vision, even when the senses contradict it. You must train yourself to see beyond appearances, to know that what you assume within must take form in the world without. There is no need to concern yourself with how the change will occur. The how is not your responsibility. It is the natural unfolding of the assumption you hold. The moment you occupy a new state, all the necessary means, all the required events and circumstances begin to move into place. You may not see the full picture, but the path will unfold step by step, guiding you effortlessly toward the fulfillment of your vision. The only requirement is that you remain steadfast in your assumption, never wavering in the belief that what you have claimed within is already yours. Creation is not about acquiring, but about becoming. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you desire love, you must assume the state of being loved. If you desire wealth, you must assume the state of already being wealthy. It is not enough to wish for change, you must embody it. The moment you do, the world will reshape itself around your new identity. The outer world is fluid, ever-changing, responding only to the consciousness that shapes it. The greatest secret of all is that nothing needs to be created, for all things already exist within the infinite potential of consciousness. The only task is to claim the state you wish to experience, to align yourself with it, and to persist in the feeling of its reality. The moment you do this, time itself bends in your favor, and what once seemed distant or unattainable becomes your natural experience. The world, which once appeared rigid and unchangeable, becomes the canvas upon which your assumptions paint the reality you desire. This is the truth that few understand, and even fewer apply. But those who do are no longer bound by circumstances, no longer subject to the limitations of the past. They walk through life with certainty, knowing that the only thing they must do is assume the feeling of their wish fulfilled and allow the law to do its perfect work. To live in this way is to live as the true creator, shaping reality not through force or effort, but through the effortless power of assumption. All that you seek is already yours, the moment you claim it within, and the world must confirm it, for the world is nothing but your own consciousness externalized. The mind is the master key to reality, shaping all that you experience and drawing unto you every event, circumstance, and encounter that appears in your life. It is not fate nor external forces that determine your conditions. It is your own consciousness. The world you see is not separate from you. It is the outward projection of the inner states you consistently occupy. If you desire change, if you seek transformation, you must first recognize that your assumptions, your beliefs, and your feelings are the architects of your world. The life you live is nothing more than the harvest of the seeds you have sown in consciousness. If you wish for a new reality, then new seeds must be planted, nurtured, and brought forth through persistence and unwavering faith. There is no need to seek outwardly, for all that you desire already exists within you. The conditions, the opportunities, the circumstances you long for are not outside of you waiting to be found. They are states of being, waiting to be claimed. The moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the moment you accept within yourself the reality of your desire, You set into motion an unseen chain of events that will bring it into being. You do not need to chase after it, struggle for it, or plead with the world to grant it to you. The assumption itself, held with conviction, will harden into fact. Your senses will always attempt to deceive you, to show you a world that appears fixed and unchangeable, but the wise do not judge by appearances, for they know that what they see is merely the reflection of past states of consciousness. The world is fluid, ever shifting, reshaping itself in response to your dominant assumptions. What was once unseen becomes seen. What was once impossible becomes effortless, the moment you fully accept it as your reality within. The great secret is understanding that the feeling precedes the fact. It is not the world that must change first, it is you. Many believe they must first obtain what they desire in order to feel differently. They wait for success to feel successful, for love to feel loved, for abundance to feel secure. But this is an inversion of the law. It is not the acquisition of things that produces the feeling. It is the feeling that produces the acquisition. If you persistently dwell in a state of lack, waiting for external proof before you allow yourself to feel fulfilled, then the outer world will only continue to reflect that lack. But the moment you shift inwardly, the moment you claim and embody the state of fulfillment, the world will begin to reshape itself to match that assumption. This is not about pretending or wishing. It is not about tricking yourself into believing something that is not true. It is about fully accepting with conviction that what you seek is already yours. It is about assuming the consciousness of the person who already possesses what you desire and thinking, feeling, and acting from that state. You are not striving to become. You are recognizing that you already are. The moment you take on this new identity, the world moves to confirm it. The people, circumstances, and opportunities required for its fulfillment are drawn to you not by effort, but by the law of assumption. Doubt is the great destroyer of manifestation. The moment you question whether it is working, whether it is real, whether it is possible, you undo the very assumption you have claimed. The world will always provide evidence to match your state of consciousness. If you persist in faith, ignoring the appearance of things, trusting in the unseen, then the unseen must become seen. But if you allow fear, uncertainty, and hesitation to enter, then you step back into the old reality, and the world reflects that state instead. This is why persistence is the key. You must remain steadfast in your assumption, refusing to be swayed by the senses, knowing that what you have claimed in consciousness must materialize. It does not matter what your present circumstances may be. It does not matter what the world tells you is possible or impossible. The only thing that matters is what you accept as true within yourself. If you decide at this very moment that you are already the person you wish to be, then the world has no choice but to conform to that assumption. Time is not a barrier, nor is effort required. The shift is instant. The results unfold naturally. To live in this understanding is to live in complete freedom. No longer are you bound by conditions, by the opinions of others, or by the limitations of the past. You become the master of your reality, shaping it with effortless ease. You no longer seek change in the world. You embody the change within, and the world follows. There is no greater power than this, the power to assume, persist, and allow the unseen to become seen. All that you desire is already yours the moment you claim it, and as you persist in that state, the world must reflect it back to you. All that you seek, all that you long to experience, already exists within you. The world you perceive is nothing more than the reflection of your own consciousness, a mirror responding faithfully to the assumptions you hold. There is no power outside of you shaping your destiny, only the unseen movement of your own mind, crystallizing into the tangible reality before you. To transform your life, you must first transform your inner state. There is no struggle in creation, no need to force or manipulate the outer world. The moment you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, The moment you accept within yourself the reality of your desire, the unseen forces of existence begin to move. Time is irrelevant and circumstances are no obstacle, for the world must shift to conform to the consciousness you hold. Many remain trapped by appearances, allowing the senses to dictate what is real. But the wise understand that appearances are nothing but past thoughts materialized. To wait for the world to change before assuming a new state is to remain forever bound by conditions. The secret lies in seeing beyond what is and living in the awareness of what is becoming. The unseen is always greater than the seen, and that which you persistently assume must externalize itself in your world. Doubt, fear, and hesitation are the only barriers to transformation. The moment you question, the moment you allow uncertainty to take hold, you step back into the old reality. But when you remain steadfast, unwavering in your assumption, the law must fulfill itself. It is not your role to determine how it will happen, nor to question whether it is possible. Your only task is to assume and persist, knowing that the world is fluid, ever responsive to your dominant state of being. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. The consciousness you occupy determines the experiences that unfold before you. If you wish for love, success, abundance, or freedom, you must claim them now within as already yours. The world must follow, for it is only the shadow cast by your inner world. The change is instant and the results are inevitable. To live in this awareness is to walk through life in complete mastery. You no longer react to circumstances, you create them. You no longer seek fulfillment outside of yourself, you become it. And as you embody this truth, the world rearranges itself to confirm your assumption. Everything you desire, everything you wish to experience is already waiting for you to claim it. Assume it now, persist without wavering, and watch as the unseen becomes seen, the imagined becomes real, and the world reflects the limitless power that has always been within you.